All right, so it's 4 o'clock. Everybody, I appreciate you carving out some time of your day to be able to join us and have a discussion about some goalie materials. I'm really excited today. I think today's going to be a great conversation. Just a little bit of a recap. Everybody that joined, you should be on mute whenever you guys have a question. And obviously, this is a discussion, so please, be involved, ask questions. There's a nice little chat feature of this Zoom meeting. I advise you to use that. Type up your question. If you have anything that you want us to discuss, to review, that's kind of what we're here for. Obviously, we have kind of a template of things that we want to discuss, but this is your time, and I appreciate that. I'm grateful to have you guys be a part of our family, and I'm really excited to have you meet some of our great coaches. Mitch Harris is here with us, and then we also have a special guest, Ted Monnich. He's a wealth of knowledge, and we're super psyched to have him join us here, and we're excited to have you guys all be a part of this call. Mitch has a little bit more of a relationship with Ted and his experience. So Mitch, why don't you take it away here and discuss some of the things that Ted's going to be able to talk about it.
For sure. Hope everyone's doing well. When Matt and I started talking about doing these Zoom rooms and bringing on special guests, I thought from day one of the first guests I wanted to have was Coach Monnich. Very brief story, but I knew of Ted through one of Justin Golden's books. And it was one of my goals as a goalie coach to meet a lot of these guys. And Coach Ted was one of those guys I wanted to meet immediately. Very interesting guy. Talk about the most interesting man in the world. It's him. So many different things that he's involved with. But when it comes to the time that we're in right now, with so much uncertainty and frankly, a lot of it's scary. We can't go to the rink. We can't go to school. We can't hang out with our friends. I thought this would be a really good opportunity to bring in a mental conditioning coach like Coach Monnich, who can talk us through some things, how to kind of cope with some of these things through some mindfulness, some small exercise that we can do. So I don't want to take the floor away from Coach Monnich's time. So Ted, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Mitch. Hello, goalies. I'm a goalie too. I've been a goalie all of my life. And that eventually led me to a little bit of time in the pros. And I've been an assistant head coach, and I've been a goalie coach for even longer. And I'm still a goalie. I still strap on the pads. And what I really do now is I'm a sports psychology consultant, a mental skills coach. And as I'm playing in the beer leagues, I become my own best client because I'm out there feeling all of the stresses and mental challenges that all goalies feel. And as a mental skills coach, that allows me to really look at that experience and then formulate and work on skills and techniques that can help goalies like yourself manage the mental challenges of our very unique position in ice hockey. Goaltending is really a solo position on a team sport. And I even say, and Mitch has heard me say this, that being a goalie is really almost playing a different sport than everybody else on the ice. We approach it differently in so many ways. But we aren't our own team, and we are part of the entire team. There are 6 guys from our team on the ice, not 5 and a goalie. There's 6 players. One thing I'd like to talk about that does address the mental challenges of our game of goaltending, as well as the challenges facing everyone in this very, very unique time that we find ourselves in now. What is that unique time now? Well, we're enduring a pandemic, and we're all being quarantined, and we can't go to the rink. We can't go to the gym. We can't go to school. We can't even go to our friend's house. And that presents mental challenges too, even to the point where it can become a little traumatic. It can start to harm us a bit. And there are ways that we can manage those challenges of the pandemic, just as we manage the mental challenges of goaltending. And a lot of this falls under the heading of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a new word to a lot of people, but it is simply a word, a name that is given to another thing we have, another word. What mindfulness means is self-awareness. Mindfulness is self-awareness. What mindfulness means is awareness of what our mind is doing. And self-awareness is awareness of what our self is doing, and our mind is part of that. So sometimes I like to get away from this unique word, mindfulness, because it's new and maybe that makes it a little less comfortable. Self-awareness, we've all heard of that. And we can be aware of what we're doing. So sometimes I'll stick with that term, but it meaning the same thing.
Look again so they can see you.
So what I'm going to do, though, is right now is I'm going to step aside from goaltending. I'm going to step aside from the pandemic, and I'm going to talk about you. And I want to talk about your body as an athlete, as a goalie, which you train to be able to move in ways that the human body doesn't typically move, but we train it to move in these ways automatically and with great effectiveness. In fact, as goalies, you have become so technically effective that it has caused the National Hockey League to put in place rules restricting what you can do because you're so effective. You're so effective with your skating that goalies were skating out into the corner to retrieve the puck. You've become so effective with your shooting and passing that that goalie would get the puck and pass it to the other blue line, and the player would go in and score a goal. The goalie was becoming the third defenseman, so that coaches and general managers were complaining. And the NHL instituted the trapezoid. Why? Because goalies are so good. That's you guys. You're part of this evolving generation that have these advanced skills. Okay, fine, limit us. We'll still stop you. And goaltending has been so effective that there have been calls to further restrict the goalies. Okay, we'll make their equipment smaller. They won't be able to stop as many pucks. You know what? We stop as many pucks. The biggest threat was making the nets bigger. I don't think it's going to come, but it sure scared everybody, but we still stop the pucks. Shooters are developing, they look at our game, the goalie's game, and say, okay, they're stopping us here, they're stopping us here, they're stopping us here. I used to consult with the Carolina Hurricanes. Now you've got a Hurricanes player who's using lacrosse techniques to score goals. And I can assure you that the pro goalie coaches are all in discussion about that. How do we stop that? How do we stop that? Well, this is because you guys are so good. Where am I going with this? It's not just to pump your tires there, guys. What I want to say is your body, you have transformed your body with the assistance of your coaches into a machine. Your body, we can think of your body as a machine. When the puck is going up here, all of a sudden your glove is up there. Have you ever made a save with your glove and you look at it and go, where did you come from? It just goes there and it makes that save. I've done it. I've done it. I can explain it. You're a machine. How does it go there? Kinesthetic response. We can say muscle memory. Why do you practice drills hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times? To teach your body what to do automatically. Your mind isn't fast enough to think, put my glove up and catch the puck. The puck's already there. We turn our body into these, essentially a machine that can operate so effectively. Remember, I just said our mind is too slow to tell our body to stop the puck. Now, part of our brain, our central nervous system, is quick enough to do it, but our mind is too slow to think it. Can you believe that? We think our mind is right there in the moment. Our mind is too slow to think about stopping pucks. That's why we practice so much. So if our body is a machine, our body is controlled by our brain. So our brain is like a computer. Our brain is like the computer hard drive. And part of that computer is very, very old through time. Our hind brain, the most primitive part of our brain, it's right at the top of our spine. And it's kind of the default system of our brain. I think you understand these words. Your generation understands computers. It understands gaming. It understands the default network. And usually we don't want to allow our computer to go back to the default network. But right now, for most of you, and for most coaches, and for your parents, everybody's operating on the default mode. So that this primitive part of our brain tells our body, the rest of our brain and our body what to do. It takes over and tells us what to do. And that primitive part of our brain, that default network, was put there for self-preservation. Like I said, remember, it's very primitive. It's been around a very as long as we've been around. In fact, it's older than human beings. That part of the brain has developed before human beings, and we've carried it with us. What does it do? It triggers the fight or flight response. Look out, it's a saber-toothed tiger. Look out, it's a giant woolly mammoth. Run. Okay, it does its job. But we don't run into saber-toothed tigers and giant woolly mammoths anymore. But it's still there, and it's still looking at everything to preserve you, to keep us safe, to keep us healthy. So it's looking around everywhere. If we let in a goal, most of us look over to the bench. Is the coach looking at me? Maybe in a practice, we look up and the coach looks like he's looking at me and giving me a dirty look. Uh-oh, is the coach mad at me? Uh-oh, the coach is mad at me. What should I do? I better show like I care a little more. We start thinking. That default mechanism is saying, there's something wrong there. Perhaps one of our teachers is in a bad mood, says something to us a certain way. That primitive part of our brain is thinking, does the coach hate, or does the teacher hate me? No, the teacher's having a bad day. Coach's having a bad day. Do they hate me? Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? We have a girlfriend. We might see our girlfriend talking to another boy. We're thinking right away, the default mechanism is protecting us. Oh, does she like him? Is he threatening me? Or we see that in the next game, we're playing the first place team. And we start worrying, can I stop them? They've got a really good forward. I don't know if I can stop him. It's our default mode, saying, protect you, protect you, protect you. Look at every possible problem. Start worrying. You should be nervous. You should be frightened. Run away, run away, run away. But this athlete that we've become, this machine that we've become, it can stop. In fact, the reason you're on the team you're on most likely is because you're a good goalie. You've got good coaches that help turn you into good goalies, but that default mode is still worrying, still making us nervous, still having anxiety before a game, worrying about that other team, worrying about that other goalie, worried about myself. Am I going to drop the ball? Am I going to have one of those games? Am I going to suck this game? That's the default mode, trying to protect us. Run away, run away. So if my body's the machine and my brain is the computer, the hard drive, what's the operating system? Operating system like Linux or Windows. The operating system is my mind. My mind. It is what is formed through all the electrical connections in the brain. That is where my consciousness forms. And it takes different parts of the brain and uses it for different things. But my mind is the operating system. But it still allows my default mode to dictate things, to run things. It allows my default mode to make me nervous, to look for problems where there may not be any. Just in case, just in case. But I'm a good goalie. And deep down inside, I know I can play well. I do play well. I have played well. Why am I worrying? Why am I nervous? I get calls from goalies. Coach, I've got a big tournament this weekend. I'm so nervous. I'm so anxious. I'm frightened. You're a really good goalie. Why are you frightened? What if I screw up? I said, are you going to screw up? Do you plan on it? No, I don't want to. You're giving into that default mode. We need to hack it. We need to hack this computer. We need to control. We need to gain control of this computer. We need to gain control of this operating system because right now it's controlling us. It's distracting us. The whole point of a mental skills coach like me, of a sports psychologist, is to get your mind out of the way of your body. Remember, I said, remember that glove save? Your body knows what to do. I had to look at it and say, where did that come from? I didn't tell it to go there. It did it automatically. We need to get your mind out of the way of your body. We need to get all that thinking out of the way. How do we do that? Through self-awareness, through mindfulness. That's how we hack. That's how we hack the system, how we hack the machine, and how we go in there and make it run the way we want it to so that you can perform the best you can. How do we do that? We do that with mindfulness. We do that with mindfulness. These are the tools that we hack the machine with, that we hack the computer with, that we hack the operating system with, to imprint a new program so that it runs the way we want it to. And the way we do that is, number one, we train our mind to become aware of when it is thinking and how it is thinking. Instead of its thoughts grabbing hold of us and carrying us away with that worry and that anxiety and that fear, we become aware of it. It's thinking. I am thinking that I might be nervous. That's being mindful. That's having self-awareness of what my brain is doing. How do we do that? Well, we lay a foundation of a technique called meditation. That's not something I can teach you here, but it is something I teach online twice a week. And actually, Coach Mitch can provide you with that resource. But we start to condition our mind to recognize when it is thinking and how it is thinking, and that we respond to that thinking in a way that we're not attached to it. We see it. We don't say it's good or bad. We say that there it is. I am thinking about this, and I'm goaltending now, so I'm not going to think about it. I'm getting ready for the game. I'm not going to be anxious. But what do we do when we find ourselves in it? I recognize that I am really anxious. I am really frightened now. We can employ other mindfulness skills. And I'm going to teach you one right now. I'm going to teach one to everybody. This is called counted breathing. Counted breathing. And with all of these mindfulness skills, we tend to use our breath, our breathing, because we've got to breathe. So let's use that as something to focus on. So let's say we're in a game and we've just let in a soft goal. And you know what? We all do that. We all let in soft goals. We just let one in, maybe a nice big fat 5-hole. We should have had it. We should have had it. And we can't stop thinking about it. I let that in. Is this going to be one of those games? Am I going to work? But we have self-awareness, like, oh, I'm thinking about it. It's distracting my focus on the game. I better use a mindfulness. I'm going to use counted breathing to get that bad thought, to get that lingering thought of that goal out of my mind. So here's what my counted breathing is. It's like a fire extinguisher that you use to put out the fire of your thoughts out there on the ice. There's been a whistle. You got a few seconds. Okay, I can't stop thinking about the goal. I'm going to use counted breathing. So we start inhaling through our nose. We always inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. And I inhale through my nose and I count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I exhale through my mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just count it in our mind. But they're not ready to drop the puck yet. I'm going to inhale through my nose again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to exhale through my mouth again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I have enough time, I'm going to do that all 4 times, 4 cycles. Here's how it works. No magic here. Here's how it works. At this point, I recognized that I am having the anxiety, the worry, what we call a discursive thought, a negative thought about that soft goal. Okay, I got to do the mindfulness breathing, or the counted breathing. So I do the counted breathing. In and out to count of 4, takes about that long. I got time to do it again, takes about that long. I got time to do it a 3rd time, takes about that long. Oh, I still got time to do it a 4th time. It took that long in time. We could say 30 seconds or a minute, about a minute. And from the time that I recognized that I was worrying to this time, all of my mind's attention, focus has been on inhaling through my nose, counting to 4, and exhaling through my mouth and counting to 4, and then doing that 4 times. That takes so much mental energy, so much focus, that I can't worry about the soft goal. And in this much time, say a minute, my mind has let go of that goal, of that worry. And my mind is blank. And I can look at the white ice in front of my crease and realize that my mind is as blank as that white ice, and say to myself, just focus on the next shot. So this is using this mindfulness skill to let go of that. Quick story to go with that. Pro client of mine, playing in the pros, really good goalie. I can't identify him for confidentiality reasons. But anyway, I'm at his game. They win 4-2. After the game, we go to dinner. After we order, he says to me, so how did I look? I said, you look great. How'd you feel? He said, I felt terrible. I said, what? He said, yeah, before I came to the rink, I had a big fight with my girlfriend. Oh no, worst thing that could happen. What did you do? He said, all through the game, all the emotions kept coming up. I'm worried, I'm angry, I'm sad. It just kept coming up. I said, what did you do? He said, I used the counted breathing. Whenever I started feeling those emotions again, I started breathing 1, 2, 3, 4, in and out, counting 1 to 4. And I said, so? He said, it worked, but it would come back again, but I'd do it again. He said, I said, wow, that must have been tough. He said, it was really hard. I said, congratulations, you did your job. You used your mental skills and you won the game. 4-2, that's a good score. You did the job. You managed the challenge, the mental challenge, by using this mental skill, this mindfulness skill, counted breathing. So there's a testimonial of it right there from a pro goalie using this in the game. It wasn't just a soft goal. It was a big fight. And he had all those emotions. He controlled them with this. So there's a technique you can take with you. You can practice it. Let's say you get called into the principal's office. You're worried, you're nervous, you're frightened. Do your counted breathing. You've got a meeting. Before a meeting, you're nervous. Do your counted breathing. Yeah. Questions?
Well, I think it's all great stuff. I mean, especially when you're thinking about how can we implement this or use this, you're just trying to get your mind refocused on the things that you can control. I mean, there's a lot of things in life that are outside of our control, especially in the world that we live in now. And sometimes we do get overwhelmed. And I know for me, when I was playing at a high level, it's always about consistency. And just like what Ted touched on, your brain is a computer. And if you can train it and build it and make it the way that you want, it's going to react that way when it's tested. And then you're going to have the ability to kind of refresh your mind. We all make mistakes. Things go wrong. We're always going to be put in stressful situations, but it's how do you manage those emotions? And I know for me, this was a big piece of recentering myself. Mindfulness is important, understanding, what you're doing well, what you're not. It's easy to play well when you're feeling great. but you need to have a process and tools in place to be able to recenter yourself, refocus, and get back moving in the right direction. So goalies, I really am grateful to have Ted here. He talks in different ways and maybe your coaches are normally communicating with you. And I think that's an important piece where there's not just one way to communicate. There's not just one way to get things done. And it's on your shoulders to kind of open your mind, accept information, and try and think about it, how you can implement it and how you can reprogram your mind or your computer to utilize some of these tools. So if you want questions, please jump into the chat. Mitch, do you have anything to add or questions for Ted?
I mean, obviously, Ted and I, we have a relationship that goes beyond, this. Last summer, I had the privilege of being on the ice with you and saw you in action talking to a group of students live. And it was the attention that people give you is unbelievable, to be honest. I could listen to you all day. But especially, the counted breathing, I think, we're all in a different world. We don't know what's going to happen with tryouts coming up. We could very easily get notification from USA Hockey that tryouts are next week and there's not going to be clinics, there's not going to be lessons. And here's going to be an opportunity where you haven't been on the ice just like everyone else. So if we can use this skill that you've learned today with that counted breathing before you step on the ice, it's all going to come back pretty quick. You're all good goalies. We know what you can do. So take your mind out of it, do that mindful breathing, hop on the ice, and you're going to have an edge over everyone else, in my opinion.
Sure. If you were to come back like that without being able to have a camp and just had tryouts, the thing that's going to trip you up is your mind.
Absolutely.
Because your body is not going to have lost that much skill. In fact, very little skill over this time period. If you're staying active, if you're applying yourself, if you would just sit back during the day and think about, close your eyes and do some imagery, some creative visualization, seeing yourself playing.
Thank you for jumping back on here. We're going to try and get it back up and running. Oh, all right. We got Ted coming back on. Perfect. Sorry about that.
No worries. I know that 40-minute, I've got a university account, so I go around it.
Make the best of what we got. We got people coming back on. I was just quickly sending out the emails and all this other stuff back out. So let me see if I can get a couple of these guys back on. Sorry to cut off in the middle there.
No. I understand exactly. This is the new world that we're in here.
We're all trying to learn how to use technology to our advantage, and we haven't worked out all the kinks yet.
No, that's okay. It's great to be able to have this free account, though. It's just recognizing. I even saw a counter at the top of the screen, and I didn't realize, we're on that 40-minute limitation there, or I would have not been so verbose.
That's quite all right. And I apologize. This is like our second time using this, so I'm kind of a newbie. But
good.
You're right. It is an awesome opportunity to kind of connect in this world where I think a lot of times I'm feeling kind of secluded and you feel a little bit lonely. It's nice to kind of see other people's faces and have a discussion in this environment, especially with technology now. It's amazing.
I agree. Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, I lead a guided meditation session online, and I've got goalies from all over the world on this. I've got a pro goalie in Sweden that tunes in, and NCAA goalies tuning in, and beer league goalies, and moms, and we're all able to be together. We do our meditation, then afterwards we have question and answer, and even just a little chat, and it's becoming its own little community. It's very nice.
So, I think the information that you went over and talked about is awesome. But why don't you tell some of the kids, and especially for me, I'm a little bit intrigued. Where did this experience or your wisdom come from? Where's your teaching or your methodology from, and how did you come to your conclusions about things that help and assist young athletes and better preparing themselves to be successful?
Sure. So, as a professional, I practice something called evidence-based practice. And evidence-based practice is guided by 3 principles. The first principle is the body of research knowledge that exists in the scholarly world, the science behind it. And then the other, another of the three principles is the goalie, the client, the patient's desires. What do they want? And then the third principle is my professional experience. And I came into this all with a lifetime of experience. So I learned about mindfulness first 30 years ago, when I just found my mind just racing, just overthinking things. And I wanted a peace of mind. I was walking down the street and there was a sign that said Buddhist Meditation Center. And I thought to myself, well, maybe these folks can help me. And I went in and I asked, I said, my mind's just won't, it's just too much. And they said, sure, we can help you. And they taught me the meditation that I teach. And they didn't try, and I kept asking, do we want to talk about Buddhism? No, we don't want to talk about Buddhism. It wasn't about the religion, it's about the technique. So this is something that's thousands of years old that was developed by people who just got tired of their own anxiety and runaway thinking. So it's old and proven, but at the same time, there's science. Science has looked at it. I've got a colleague named Dr. Fidel Zidane. He's a brain surgeon. He's in California, and he used to be here in North Carolina where I am, and he did a study looking at the use of the kind of meditation that I teach for pain control in chronic pain sufferers and comparing that to narcotic painkillers. And it was found to be as or more effective than the narcotic painkillers. And it's just the way our mind will think about something and get stuck with it. And the meditation teaches us how to let go of it. Just like you doing the counted breathing, we let go. So there's the science behind it. There's the teaching I received. I was a goalie. I applied these things. Late in my career, I found myself getting bored in the second period and distracted. Went to a sports psychologist, learned about that, said, hey, this is cool. At the same time, I'm goalie coaching in the summers, and coaches are sending me goalies because I seem to have some insight into their brains. And I decided, hey, I don't want to be an amateur at this. So I went back to school and earned a master's degree. And now I'm about finished with a doctoral degree in sports psychology. And I've got a private practice and working with teams and players at every level. So initially, I learned this stuff, the mindfulness, to help myself. I brought it through my professional experience, my practice-based knowledge, my practice-based evidence, and then supported it with the scientific research like Dr. Fidel Zidane's study. And so there's the body of science. And what do the goalies want? They just want to be able to focus on the shot. And so bringing that all together, that's something called evidence-based practice. This is what doctors utilize. This is what good research is. This is what people, that helpers like myself, we practice evidence-based practice with all of these techniques. There's a host of mental skills that I teach goalies in addition to mindfulness. Imagery, I mentioned that just before we got cut off. Imagery is seeing yourself doing something effectively, always well. Let's say you have a hard time catching the puck, just as an example, or controlling rebounds with your stick. You create a little mental movie of yourself in a game, getting a shot from the point, and you butterfly and use your stick to steer that puck over the glass. But at the same time, here's the trick. Here's the trick. That's using our eyes to see it happen, but we're going to utilize as many of our other senses as possible. Our sense of smell. What do you smell when you're on the ice? Your gear, the ice. Every rink kind of smells the same. What do you hear? The puck moving on the ice, guys shouting, skates, sticks. What do you feel? Well, your stick being put onto the ice, the stick in your hand, the puck hitting your stick as you turn it and redirect the puck up over the glass. What do you taste? That's a tough one. Gatorade, some guys say. Sweat, other guys say. A mouth guard, other guys say. Okay. And so as you create this mental movie, this imagery, you incorporate as many of these senses into the experience as possible, so that when you do the imagery, you kind of have a sense of the sound and the feel. And here's what happens. This is scientifically proven, though it sounds like a Jedi mind trick. What happens is, with all of your senses being utilized, or as many as possible being utilized in the imagery, it tricks your central nervous system, which is your brain and your spine, into believing it's happening. So if your central nervous system believes it's happening, does that mean that it responds like learning? Yes. So that I could have a goalie client who blew a knee and he's worried he's going to lose his skill. So I give him certain imagery drills to do that maintain his level of skill. Can you even get better through doing imagery? Slightly. Not as well as actually being on the ice, but slightly, and slightly is better than none, or slightly is better than nothing, or worse, losing it. So here we are. We're all stuck off the ice. If we can think of that one thing that we know we struggle with, and if we can create some imagery with it that has us succeeding and utilizing all of our senses in it, it could just be 20 seconds long, 30 seconds long. We sit back and just imagine ourselves doing that. And every time we imagine ourselves doing it, it's reinforcing it in our nervous system. We can actually start to get better at that weakness, seeing ourselves doing it. Have you ever gotten on YouTube before you go to a practice and watched your favorite NHL goalie make some spectacular saves, and then you go to practice and it's like, wow, I'm pretty good? That's the effect of watching it on your mind, on your brain, on your nervous system.
It's amazing. I mean, I think, for me, those are great tools and a great insight to kind of manage it while you're in the moment. There's also obviously the time frame where you're going to have to kind of reflect, or you're sitting there, you're at home after a game and you're feeling down on yourself. And I think those are good techniques to think about then as well. I used to think about, sometimes when I used to get caught in the gap is what I would call it, the gap between where I was and where I want to be, or where I am and where I want to be. Some days you have really good days and you're feeling accomplished, but other days when you're having, some adversity or some challenges, you kind of get in a rut, and then you have to utilize these mental training tools to be able to help and assist. And also it's good to kind of reflect. You don't want to be stuck in the gap of where am I going? What am I doing? How do I get out of this? You want to be in the position of control as best you can, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it's good to kind of reflect, like if I'm having a tough day or a rough go, or if I wasn't stopping the puck that well that practice, or, let's be honest, sometimes we put 2-3 games back to back and we don't play well, and then we're questioning everything. That's really where, some of the mental tools that come into play are really going to be very important. It's not necessarily what you do one day, it's what you do consistently. And sometimes you're going to have some anomalies and some bad days. It's how do we shorten up those time frames between the good days and the good days, and the bad days are short. And for me, what was very helpful is if I was having a bad day, or I wasn't working or accomplishing as much as I wanted to, and I was caught in that gap, I would reflect. I would look back, 5 days ago, 10 days ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and think about where I was and how much I've been able to accomplish from that day till today. And it kind of refreshes your mind, it refocuses your attitude, and it gives you a little bit of motivation too. And I think that's important. The breathing technique stuff helps for right in the moment, and it allows you to kind of get through that time. But there's also the planning piece as well. And I think being mindful and having good self-awareness of where you were, and a direction of where you want to be, allows you to kind of forge that path along mentally, physically, and emotionally. Now, we did get a little bit of a chat here from Jacob. With the visualization, is there a certain amount of time you should do it before you get on the ice, so it is the most effective? Because sometimes I feel like the night before I feel better than the day of. Ted, any insight on that?
Yes, absolutely. Wherever it feels best to you, that's when to do it. A lot of times a goalie will sit in his stall, maybe after he's got his pants, pads, and skates on, and it might take 30 seconds to do a visualization. But if it feels better for you the night before, do it the night before. That's great. That's fine. A lot of this is not a question of, is it going to make my mind better now?
Oh, I think we lost Ted there. Oh, I think we lost him. But I think, to piggyback off of that, I think he was touching on the effect of, it doesn't always need to be, super effective right now, but it's about building your process and getting used to your routine. And everybody's going to be a little bit different. I know that the way I handled myself was much more different than most goalies. I was accused of being relatively normal, and I take that as a kind of a compliment. Whenever my teammates were there, I used to get the compliment, "You're the most normal goalie I've ever played with." Because most of the time goalies have, routines or quirks or, superstitions rather. And I really didn't. I try to keep my mind as clear as possible, not get tied up in the things that are out of my control or, beyond anybody's belief that they really have an effect on anything. But somebody's different. I mean, for some goalies, one of my greatest adversaries when I played was very, very quirky. And that's the best way I can put it. He used to write things down all the time. He used to come to the rink, and this is a goaltender who was phenomenal on the ice. One of the best goalies I've ever played with, ever. But he was different. He used to write down, he used to bring a notepad, a journal every day and write down things in his journal. And I mean this, that everybody has their own way of getting things done. But some of the things he would write down is, I'm going to be the best goalie in the ice today. And it was almost like, some of you guys may have never grew up on the Simpsons, but when the Simpsons would open, you'd have Bart Simpson writing on the chalkboard, I did something bad, and do it numerous amounts of times. He would do the same thing. And it was his way to focus his mind on things that are within our control. So then we have control over what's going to happen. In the game that we play, there's so many variables. There's so many things that are out of our control. How is our defense going to play in front of us today? Are we going to get run support? Is our forwards going to do their job and score some goals today? Maybe they're not. Maybe some days you have a much more wide range of room for error that, you can let in 2-3 goals and still feel confident and good because your team's putting up 3, 4, 5 goals. Those are games where, maybe that pressure isn't on you as much. And sometimes we take our foot off the gas and not hold ourselves to that highest standard possible in those environments. And those are really where the rubber meets the road, because whenever it's a 1-1 game, you have to be focused. You need to be on point. You need to be ready to handle those. And if you don't do it in every environment, you're not going to be prepared well enough to do it when it's the most important. And that comes down to your mental side. I think, routine, preparation, using things and tools that we discuss to your best advantage is what you need to learn. And that's kind of that self-awareness piece of understanding how you learn. People learn differently. They learn visually. They learn by listening, talking, doing, writing. There are different environments and stimulus that helps you learn. You have to find the best way to become the best athlete you can be and the most intelligent athlete you can be. We all have different flaws and weaknesses, and we have to learn how to improve upon them as best as we can. And we have to be, humbled whenever there's a challenge ahead. Realize you're not going to be Superman and be able to find, the solution right away. Excellence is earned every day, and success is earned every day. It's not just, I did it well yesterday, I want to be great today without any preparation or thought process. It's really how you build that process, how you structure your mind and your computer. So whenever you're under attack or stressed, you have the tools in place to be able to manage it and to be able to get yourself through that. But I really do appreciate everyone jumping on the call. Does anybody have any questions or comments or points that you want to discuss with Ted while we have him here? I mean, he's a great reference. He's a great resource. I always tell you guys to make sure that you're networking and trying to build, your book of resources. When I was trying to be the best goaltender I could be, I know I was hesitant to sometimes reach out to these resources that I was able to, build a bridge with. And And sometimes we're a little bit hesitant of asking for help. And I think that's an important piece. Realize that we're all here for you. You know, Mitch is here, Ted. We're so grateful to have you, you know, allocate some of your time to us and our goalies. You know, if you guys have questions, please feel step up, jump into the chat and let us know. Mitch, is there anything that you want to kind of pick Ted's brain with here while we have him?
No, I mean, I think Ted covered a lot of good stuff. I mean, you can cover so much at once, and we certainly don't want to do information overload. So, you know, if this continues, as long as this continues, you know, we'll have Coach Ted back for another one of our chats to talk about another topic. But like I said, I think the mindfulness is huge. The count of breathing is huge. And guys, you know, Matt, I'm sure you get the calls. Ted, I'm sure you get the calls. What am I going to do? I'm not on the ice. What am I going to do? I'm not on the ice. Well, there's so much you guys can be doing. The ice will be there. I mean, everyone's in the same boat. So really, it's what are you doing with your time? You know, I'm hoping you guys are watching my daily videos of different hand-eye drills. Hope you're watching what Matt's doing with some stretching and some mobility stuff. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, and just maximize your time and make sure that when the bell rings and it's time to step back on the ice, we don't look like fish out of water because we didn't do any hand-eye, we didn't do any stick handling, we're completely out of shape. Because I'm telling you right now, spots are to be had on teams, and if you're not working, other guys are, you're going to be passed over. And I don't want that to happen to any of you guys. So just keep working and keep working on building up those mental skills right now. Now's the time to do it.
Guys, I will send a link to Coach Mitch to the guided sitting meditation sessions that we're doing every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's only 30 minutes long. I've got goalies, as I said earlier. I've got pro goalies. I've got youth goalies. I've got D1 goalies. I've got beer league goalies. I've got goalie moms. And this is the fundamental mindfulness skill that everything else is built upon. It's a guided meditation, so you learn to do it as you're doing it. And I teach all of my clients this. Some are clients, some aren't. But I'll send the link to Coach Mitch. He can share it with you goalies. And I encourage you, it's 20 to 30 minutes of, okay, here's my mental time. And you'll develop that practice and lay that foundation of mindfulness.
Well, just like anything else, right? The grass grows where you water it. So if you want to become more sound mentally, and you know, for the guys that are on the call, most of us are local to the Philadelphia area. I mean, a great example is Carter Hart. I mean, we got the privilege to watch this young man who is going to be a phenomenal goaltender play in our city with our team. And you know, when I was growing up, I wanted to play like Mike Richter, Nabokov. You know, we had those goalies which were really athletic. Jonathan Quick I played against, and you know, whenever we played, it was fun to watch each other play. And it's been an opportunity to kind of learn from these guys. And the same thing for you. You want to be able to visualize what you're working on. There's a lot of opportunities and resources online to watch game film of these guys and your favorite goalies and kind of work on. And you know, you don't want to mirror, but you kind of want to emulate. I mean, some of these guys are very, very successful, and they're great role models. A lot of sports and their top players aren't really the most attainable, and I'm very happy to say most time hockey players are. And these guys are good role models for you to learn from, gain experience and knowledge from, and same thing for us. You know, we have the privilege of learning from these high level athletes, and just like you guys are, we're trying to improve our own coaching skills as well. Every day we got to get better. We have to learn new skills, new trades. I know right now we're all locked away from the rinks, but find a way to get creative. Find a way to improve yourself. Find a way to find structure. You know, some days I'll be honest, I get anxiety sitting at home with all the uncertainty of the world. And sometimes I just put my headphones in, I go in the backyard and I go do workouts, you know, some hand-eye coordination drills, maybe a little bit of quick feet, some agility, some stretching. And it just allows my mind to kind of refresh, reset, and gain a little peace, because sometimes that's really all we need is a little bit of peace and understanding that you have to be faithful in yourself to have the ability to get things done. And the most important person in your life is going to be you. If you want to get things done, you want to improve, hold yourself accountable. Be realistic about what you can accomplish. You reach out to the resources and the references that you have. Obviously, Mitch is here. I'm here. Ted, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll get you guys out the link for his stuff. Obviously, we're very grateful to have someone of your expertise to join us and pass along your wealth of knowledge. So everybody, I appreciate the time. Since our chat isn't blowing up right now, I think we were able to touch on a lot of things that were very, very helpful. So hopefully you guys all found value. You please stay safe, wash your hands, continue to stay invested in the process. We're all in this together, and stay healthy. If anybody needs anything, and I mean this, I have a couple goalies that I've already reached out and had conversations. If you need something, call, right? Email, reach out. We're here for you. All right. Mitch, Ted, thank you so much for your time and your wealth of knowledge. We're very grateful to have both you and goalies. I'll talk to you soon. We'll look forward to seeing you guys all hopefully next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Enjoy.